So yeah, I suppose to get started, it'd be good, to introduce yourself, and then for those
Yes.
who don't know, tell us a bit about yourself and
Mhm.
obviously your background.
So hey Kyle, thanks for having me here today on your pod. So it's a pleasure to be talking to you on your pod. So myself, Vijay, founder and CEO of BitsCrunch, a data analytics and forensics entity in the blockchain space. We're based in Munich. I mean, you could have guessed it uh, by my name and the looks that I'm an Indian, but now living in Munich for the last 11 years, more than a decade. And yeah, I've worked for some of the big German companies like Volkswagen and Siemens. After completing my master's degree in Germany, I mean, that's the reason why I went to Germany in the first place. And then, yeah, scaling BitsCrunch now, grown the team from a team of 4 to 40 and yeah, raised quite a lot of capital, more than $12 million from some of the big names in the industry, and growing each and every day. So yeah, things are going well. How about you?
Nice. Yeah, it's going really well over here. And I think something that the audience are probably willing to find out about you is, you mentioned to me off camera that you partnered with Coinbase, and how did that come about?
Yeah, raising from Coinbase. I mean, Coinbase is a very well-known company in the blockchain space, in the crypto space. They are one of the publicly listed companies in the US. So obviously, getting money from Coinbase was something that everybody loves, right? And to do it as a founder and CEO of project, I cannot ask for more, right? So that happened in 2022, a couple of years ago, and they backed BitsCrunch, they backed the vision, they believed in what we are building. So in a way, because they realized that data is the new oil, data has a huge potential, which is obviously a case, and we have been continuously scaling with the support of Coinbase team, been in touch with them so yeah, from introduction to investments to now looking for a potential listing opportunity, Coinbase as an exchange by themselves. So we are not yet listed on Coinbase, but we will work towards it, right? I mean, that's obviously one of the short to mid-term goals that we have at BitsCrunch. And yeah, time will tell if we will hit Coinbase or not.
Nice. And you mentioned previously, you've worked for some pretty big companies like Volkswagen and Siemens. So I suppose a few people would be surprised that you went from there to setting up a blockchain company. So what was the inspiration behind setting up
Yeah.
BitsCrunch?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, when I worked for Volkswagen and Siemens, those are two different worlds, two OGs in the Web2 space, typical German companies where the entire work setup, work life balance is totally different. So from there to jumping into the Web3 bandwagon, into the entrepreneurship rabbit hole, that was totally different, where Web3 literally breathes fire, right? I mean, people say Web3 never sleeps. The reason being people close businesses on Telegram, on Slack, on Discord. So that's crazy, to be honest, and that nobody can even imagine at Volkswagen or Siemens, where they have strict policies, compliance, and regulations, and specific guidelines on how to communicate and where to communicate. Whereas Web3 is totally random, and the space is evolving as such, right? I mean, still even today, most of the people communicate through Telegram and Discord, which is the widely used platforms for Web3. And it's in a way new culture, new ethos. Happy to have sniffed both the worlds, right? Web 2 and Web 3. That's something good. And it has to be the support from the family, my friends, my family, my mentors, because without them, obviously I wouldn't have stepped into Web3 full time. I mean, everybody does Web3 part time. Everybody sort of invests onto Bitcoin or Ethereum or probably looks into the developments. Doesn't have to be investments as such, but people look into Web3 from various angles, right? I mean, now with ETF approvals that happened from BlackRock, Fidelity, and Vanguard, people closely observe what is happening in Web3. But to jump into Web3 as an entrepreneur, as a founder, that was totally risky. And I'm glad it is paying off. I won't call it as it is, it paid off. I won't already say it in past tense because it's a journey. It's a
Yeah,
process which we are continuously evolving every day. And so far, so good. No complaints.
nice.
That's
And
happened.
I suppose for those who don't know, can you tell us a bit more about BitsCrunch and what you guys are doing there?
Yeah. So bits crunch, we crunch each and every bits of data, right? That's where the naming evolved. So we wanted to do data science, data analytics, and forensics at various levels. And that's how we started building uh, BitsCrunch. We wanted to be the forensics layer because a lot of data analytics players were there when we started, but very few forensics layer was there. When I mean forensics, we want to tell people what is good and what is bad. And we wanna tell them that. And that is something that we started as a mission. We wanted to be the police of Web3, and where we go after the fraud, we detect malicious activities and inform the retail as well as the businesses. And so far, so good. We are being used by more than 50 plus businesses. We generate revenue from some of them. Notable customers that we have is our DAP Radar, Unstoppable Domains, and so on. We recently announced a partnership today, Rivals AI. So constantly evolving again, bridging, making more users use our APIs. It's all about users, right? It's all about users and what sort of value you add to the community. So
Mm,
we believe we are constantly adding value, and that is sort of reflecting on the other aspects of the uh, the company.
nice. And I think you've mentioned already, but what kind of projects or goals are you currently working on, and what
Mhm,
impact do you hope to have with them?
mhm. Yep. So one of the examples that I can share is obviously DAP Radar. DAP Radar is obviously one of the biggest data providers in the broader DeFi space. And for them, we provide APIs that that they don't have. That's the beauty of decentralization, right? When you are building a decentralized protocol, you don't see others as competitors. You don't look up to others as competitors. Where we could build on top of what they are building, they can build on top of what we are building. So that's the sort of cross collaboration that blockchain uh, brings onto the table. So we provide an extensive suite of NFT data for DApp Radar. And another customer that we have is Unstoppable Domains. So they are one of the well-known domain providers, decentralized domain providers in the space, and they use BitsCrunch APIs for their premium domains. So let's say they have some premium uh, set of domains or premium users where our analytics are used by them, right? So that is one use case that I can share here. And then I forgot to mention Mastercard. So it's not just about Web3. Web3, we work with some of the giants from the Web2 industry. We did a POC, proof of concept, with Mastercard. Again, back in 2022, we were one of the graduates of Mastercard Web3 program. So yeah, in all means, we are progressing well.
Nice. And I suppose in terms of like trends and innovations within Web3, what
Mhm.
excites you the most about that industry in specific?
Uh, Trends, I would say now everybody is talking about AI, artificial intelligence, right? Glad that at BitsCrunch we have been AI proponents right from the beginning. Even if you go back to the initial days of BitsCrunch back in 2021, 2022, we have been constantly talking about AI, the use of AI on blockchain. So it's not that we pick up something that is recently picked up because of ChatGPT and other applications that are the recent buzz. So AI is definitely evolving, making a lot of things easier and faster for Web3 folks, Web3 builders like BitsCrunch. And at the same time, Deepin is also a technology that is evolving. I'm not an expert into Deepin as of now,
Hmm.
but AI and data and blockchain are definitely going to be the talking points in the near future.
Nice. And I suppose something that's just happened. Obviously, a lot of people within Web3 and blockchain. There's been a lot of excitement. Happens was it every 4 years? Is the Bitcoin halving? So, how's that been for you so far?
Yeah, halving, everybody talks about it before it happens, and then after it happens, literally no one talks about it. Glad that you took it up in the space. So yeah, halving is obviously a monumental thing that happens every 4 years. I mean that's how it is programmed, right? It's not an unlimited supply of money. Nobody prints millions and trillions of dollars out of thin air, where Bitcoin is very limited. And when you cut down the block size rewards every 4 years, that creates a more buying pressure, right? Because everybody would love to get their hands on limited supply, limited Bitcoin. So yeah, with this recent ETF approval from, like I said, Vanguard, Fidelity, and BlackRock, that already tells that the bigger institutions are interested in digital currency, digital money, Bitcoin. And obviously, it will impact altcoins like BitsCrunch. Usually, the first wave of the buzz happens around the main Bitcoin because that's the mother of all coins. But then the capital flows back into protocols like Ethereum and the protocols that are built on top of Ethereum and other chains,
Mhm.
right? So it will have its impact on projects like BitsCrunch, like ourselves, but we cannot measure when exactly that will happen, or what would the impact be. Those are obviously not controllables that we can control as an entrepreneur or as a founder. But then we expect some capital to flow back into the smaller projects or the newer projects, because right now, if you look at Bitcoin's age is 13 years, right? And BitsCrunch is 2.5, 3 years old. So you cannot compare BitsCrunch to Bitcoin. So obviously, capital takes time to flow through to the smaller projects. But then, yeah, we will keep building. We will keep providing valuable data to all those involved parties, involved businesses, and customers in the space. And yeah, we'll work on creating a transparent environment in the Web3 space.
Very nice. And I suppose moving on to our more kind of blockchain AI questions as well. So,
Mhm,
kind of from your side, how can
mhm,
blockchain technology enhance, say, the security and integrity
mhm,
of AI systems and data?
mhm. So I was previously working with data analytics, data science, right? I mean, if you look at data, data can be applied everywhere, right? You need data analytics in telecom industry, in retail industry, in pharmaceutical, for instance. You can apply data science, data analytics everywhere. Same with AI. AI applications can be seen in the manufacturing industry to a solar panel industry, right? A renewable energy industry. So blockchain is also similar, where you see applications on blockchain across the different verticals, right? Different industries use blockchain. You put the land records on blockchain, you do even ticketing on blockchain, you do whatnot, right? I mean, so many governments even use blockchain to store their records. And combination of AI and blockchain, that is obviously an unbelievable thing, right? So these days, founders try to force themselves to use AI into their modules, but in my opinion, that is not required. So if at all there is a natural convergence, natural synergy between both the technologies, both the best of the worlds, that is when one has to really look into it, really deploy amount of resources and capital into it. Otherwise, it's a waste of resource, I would say.
Yeah.
Right. So AI obviously is gonna make sure that the time spent is a lot lesser than it was before, because now with modern AI tools, one can easily find out flaws, figure out flaws, get contents, get all these things in a matter of seconds or minutes, as opposed to days in previously, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, going to be a interesting next set of few years, and with Apple Vision Pro that was launched recently. That again, I would say it's first step for what is going to be the future, right? Look
Mhm.
at the earlier iPhones. The very first iPhones were very primitive, very basic, right? And look at the iPhone 15, 15 Pro Maxes nowadays. And that is like several X, 1000X when you compare it to the first iPhones. Even for the first iPhones, you don't get to play the music, right? For music, you had iPad or iPod back in days. So it's an evolution. So I see this big headphones, Vision Pro, as a first step of a new evolution. But then as we move into the next few years, I'm sure Apple uh, Vision Pro 15 Pro Max would look as sleek as a normal glass that people used to wear every day, right?
Mhm.
And those days are not so far, in my opinion.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely agree. And I suppose what are the most promising use cases for, say, integrating blockchain and AI
Mhm.
technologies?
Mhm. Look, for instance, I mean, taking out inspirations from BitsCrunch itself, you can actually use AI to find out the frauds, right? Because obviously, uh, there are millions of transactions going on. As we speak, there are millions of transactions that are happening across the chain, across the blockchain. It is not just about Ethereum. There are so many other chains: Solana, Polygon, Polkadot, Avalanche, Cardano. So there are plenty, right? And when you have AI by your side, you can actually figure out the malicious patterns by AI. So that is actually handy. And data analytics, be it data forensics, AI is obviously going to help out a lot of use cases. And then AI can also help, let's say, there is an interesting application called Natix. So what they do is they use AI and deepen a hardware device where, I mean, you don't need a hardware device with Natix. It's just a mobile application where they figure out, they map the obstacles on the road as you drive, right? So as you drive as a Uber driver or a personal car, you get to record your travel, your drive, and you get to spot obstacles on the way. Are there any humans crossing the road, or are there any pedestrians or cyclists crossing the road? So, for all these, they use AI and blockchain and storing everything on the blockchain anyway. So, things are at extreme ends. On
Mhm.
one side, people use it for simple use case where they detect AI, they use AI to detect sleep patterns of human beings. That is one. And on the other extreme, people use it to compute massive amounts of uh, compute algorithms and so on. So, sky is the limit when it comes to AI and blockchain.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of where you go into like the whole pedestrians crossing the road, everything like that, and you've got like autonomous vehicles, and it's crazy. One of my friends has just been in San Francisco, which is obviously they've got them in operation, and he was like sending me
Yes.
videos of just the car just going on its own, and it's just crazy to say, like you're saying, first iPhone coming out, like. take that for example. If someone told me 10 years ago there'd be cars driving themselves, you'd think they're absolutely crazy.
Yeah,
um,
exactly. I mean, even Tesla. I mean, be it electric cars. I mean, not just Tesla, but all the electric cars on the road. If somebody would have told that cars will run on batteries,
mm,
people would have laughed a couple of decades back, right? 20 years,
yeah,
10, 20 years ago, people would have laughed if you say I can run cars on batteries, but Tesla is literally computers on wheels, right? It is just
yeah,
computers on wheels. And you see the next evolution, which is going to be automated driving, right? There are a lot of trials happening in SF and Miami as we speak, right? So people are testing it out. It will come, right?
mhm,
Same as iPhone example, right? iPhone 1 can never be compared to the present iPhone.
yeah,
And nowadays it's what millions of applications on our hands, right? Earlier, mobile was more of just a communication device where you used to call somebody else, right? And I still remember the days where you used to text message, and now everything is digital, everything is gone viral, and I'm excited to see what's coming up with the AI evolution now into the picture.
yeah. I definitely agree. And
Mhm.
kind of how do you see, say, blockchain impacting the development and deployment of AI
Mhm.
models, and
Mhm.
particularly in terms of, say, data management and privacy?
Mhm. Mhm. So, especially I come from Germany, where GDPR is obviously a bigger topic that has always been on talks in industry, right? Where you cannot share information that easily. Even between departments inside a company, you cannot share docs or information easily. That doesn't mean that blockchain is the only solution, but with blockchain, the thing is, there are so many technologies that are coming up, like zero knowledge proofs, ZK technology, uh, applications and blockchains are evolving, and that lets you share information and put that onto blockchain, right? With full confidence, and everything is tech, right? You can always rely on tech if it is battle tested, if it is battle tested by so many devs and so many teams across the globe. So it is going to be interesting to see how AI is helping out blockchain data, because when a user generates data, it has started becoming a lot, right? I mean, back in days, I still remember devices called the pen drives. I don't think nobody uses pen drives these days, right? Even the Apple iPhones that we use nowadays is a couple of terabytes, right? If I'm correct. So we have grown to such a stature where we forgot about pen drives. Nobody is asking for a pen drive to the other person, right? And the same is going to happen because now the devices started communicating with each other. Your watch is communicating with your fan, your light. You can talk to Alexa to turn off the living room light, right? That is possible nowadays. So that means you're telling the device, and the device communicates to the other device, right? The Internet of Things, IoT. So data generation, data processing, data storage is gonna multiply crazy numbers. Right? It's gonna blow up people's mind, right?
Mhm.
And that is where AI comes in handy because it will allow you to make use of data that is prominent, that is necessary, that is needed, as opposed to data that is largely unused, right? I mean, how many pen drives, how many hard disks in our houses that that is just lying around there with no use, right? We store a lot of pictures, a lot of videos, a lot of memories, but we don't use that to action quite often. So yeah, internet, blockchain, and AI is going to be revolutionary as we move ahead.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose can you provide any examples of, say, successful applications where blockchain and AI have been, say,
Mhm.
synergistically employed?
Mhm. Um, I mean, it's still early. I would say. I mean, successful. We cannot. I mean, what looks successful to you might not look successful to me, right?
Yeah.
Likewise, vice versa. What looks successful to me might not look successful to the audience who are listening to this pod. but in a way, I would say we are evolving. There are constant applications that are coming out of the industry, right? And big companies are also making use of the blockchain. Like I said, PayPal is integrating blockchain. Stripe is looking into blockchain, and a lot of big names, JP Morgan, BlackRock, and all these names, they are also building on blockchain, not just participants of ETFs, but then they are also building on blockchain. JP Morgan owns a blockchain ecosystem called Onyx, if I remember correctly. So we see a lot of developments happening in the space, but it will take a few years to see where we come on terms in terms of real utility, real usage.
Mhm. Okay.
Mhm.
And I suppose what are the main, say, challenges or obstacles in integrating both blockchain and AI, and I suppose
Mhm.
how can they be overcome?
Mhm. So one thing is even getting a data scientist or a data analyst is tricky, right? I mean, as a hiring expert, or you know it better, right? So that also applies to blockchain space. Hiring a blockchain dev is as hard as uh, getting a data scientist back in days, right? So obviously, hiring is one of the biggest bottlenecks. Getting a quality resource, getting a good lead is just tough. And then obviously the package is another thing. Even if we find a person, since it's a niche technology, people ask for more, which is understandably right because they learned the art of some of the best uh, things, right? Some of the best niche technologies in the space, so they deserve more.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a way, it's these are the bottlenecks that I see, and also the resources that are available. I mean, if something goes wrong, if something goes out of the box, goes out of the window, you don't have a lot of examples to look around, right? So it's like pretty much you basically start through the Google these days, right? I mean, imagine searching on Google when Google was just launched, right? As Google started indexing, that's when you see results close to what millions of pages for any prominent keywords.
Yeah.
But back in days when Google started indexing, I would suppose even if you search for any prominent keyword, it would have very less results, right? So such is the case with blockchain, and it will evolve as more and more people use it. We will evolve.
No, definitely. I think you're kind of spot on with the analogy there with Google as well.
Yeah.
And I suppose how might, say, decentralized AI powered by blockchains change the
Uh-huh.
landscape of, say, machine learning and data processing?
Uh-huh. I mean, most of the blockchain applications are pretty much centralized, or
Mhm.
especially at the beginning of the journey, right? I mean, nobody has the perfect decentralized uh, wireframe or application from that goes from A to Z, right?
Mhm.
Even at BitsCrunch, we still rely on centralized data storages for some portions of our data, and then we do have a decentralized data storage as well. So it depends on both the worlds. And it also applies on the other end, where centralized applications depend on blockchain, and centralized uh, data of blockchains are also stored on centralized applications. So it's a world which is still converged. So we don't have a clear winner yet.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously, Web2 is much more bigger, much more massive because people have seen things work. Uh, People have seen Google, Microsoft, Meta grown to trillion-dollar companies these days. And blockchain, I would compare it to a baby, right?
Mhm.
Blockchain itself is like a baby where it's crawling. Apple is Apple because it has what close to 3 to 4 decades of building Apple, right? So it didn't happen overnight. Same with Meta. Meta has been building for the last couple of decades now. Right? So blockchain as a space is still what 10 years old, 10,
Yeah.
13 years old. And if you take it to Bitcoin age, it's 13 years, and Ethereum is what, 9 years old or whatever. So it needs time. But from the stats that we see today, Ethereum is already challenging the established businesses that run for 30, 40 years.
Mm. How big do you see Web3 getting? Like,
If you look at the top Fortune 500 companies in the world right now, Microsoft, Apple, IBM, um, Meta, Twitter, and Tesla, everybody relies heavily on data.
mm,
Obviously, the internet revolution happened and then the data revolution happened. So everybody heavily relies on data. You don't pay anything to Google, right? You don't pay to Facebook to use Facebook or Instagram. Everything is free because we are the data.
mm,
And with more and more blockchain, with more and more data, with more and more transactions happening on chain, I'm sure Web3 is going to be massive. It is going to stay because you don't see Black Rocks and Fidelities and Vanguards get into something without a without a reason, right?
yeah.
So it's gonna be massive.
And I suppose with what we've seen with data breaches for likes of Facebook, are there any,
Mhm.
say, like regulatory or ethical
Mhm.
considerations specific
Mhm.
to maybe the intersection of, say, blockchain and AI that need to be addressed?
Yep, yep. Data breaches are the pain for the Web2 companies because I mean, how long or how far you go with data storages and data processing and then handling an entity that has over what thousands and thousands of employees sitting around various locations in the world. It's really tough to handle data breaches, right?
Mm,
One little slip that could create a mess, right? And that has been a blessing with blockchain because in blockchain no one really knows who's the other party at the end, right? I mean, unless you know the real address of the person, the real whatever address, blockchain address, or the name of that particular person. So with blockchain, yes, the data breaches are likely to get reduced a lot, but I won't say it's again going back to zero. But the chances of data breaches will be a lot lesser than the Web2 world.
mm,
Yeah.
okay. And I suppose we touched on this a little bit earlier, but
Mhm.
looking ahead, what developments do you foresee in the
Mm.
convergence of, say, blockchain and AI technologies?
Mhm. Mhm. Well, like I said, more and more industries will tap into blockchain. More and more industries will try to bring their assets onto chain. Right?
Mm,
I saw one project is tokenizing tennis fields. So that is ATP, Australian Tennis Federation, I believe. So they are tokenizing the tennis fields. So if there is a match, imagine a match between Rafael Nadal and Djokovic. Whenever there is a point scored after hitting a particular portion of the field, the user who owns that piece can earn passive reward, right?
mm,
That's something that is amazing, right? You get the revenue share, you get a piece of pie, right? Yes, that is also there in the Web2 world, but it's not what is reflecting, right? You have influencers in Web2 where they get paid for their engagement or likes or views on YouTube and Facebook and other platforms, but it's again centralized. They can always go back and change the policies. So tomorrow, if people say, sorry guys, we don't pay you anymore. You need to level up your game. You need to go to million followers. Then what happens to all the micro influencers, right?
mm.
So these nuances are the nightmare for Web2 users, which Web3 will solve, in my opinion.
Amazing. Right, I really appreciate your time, Vijay, and yeah,
Okay. Thanks a lot.
right,
Take care.
appreciate it. Right, I'll speak to you soon. Take care. Bye bye.
Thanks. Take care. Bye bye.